Welcome to this explainer on the polyglot system, where we're going to break down exactly how busy adults master new languages. Let's just dive right in. So, let's start with a massive, widespread myth. Is language learning a talent, or is it a system? We look at polyglots, those people who just effortlessly speak multiple languages, and we kind of assume their brains are just built differently, right? We think, oh, you need some kind of magical innate gift, or, well, you have to be a child to absorb a new language like that. But the reality we're going to uncover today, it's entirely different. Learning a language is actually not about being uniquely gifted. It is fundamentally about having the right system. Okay, let's dive into this with the truly incredible story of Kato Lomb. She was a renowned Hungarian interpreter, and she famously mastered 16 different languages. And here's the absolute kicker. She learned the vast majority of them as a busy adult, and very often without any formal teachers. No way, right? Her secret? Well, she fiercely rejected those traditional classroom methods that obsess over grammatical perfection. You know the ones. The classes that left us all able to flawlessly conjugate verbs, but absolutely terrified to actually order a cup of coffee. As she brilliantly put it, grammar is a tool, not a goal. Traditional classes fail us, frankly, because they focus on the completely wrong finish line. They make us memorize rules instead of making us communicate. So, what should our finish line be? Well, we need to completely reframe our goal. Think about fluency on one side and proficiency on the other. Proficiency, that's what your high school exams tested. It's all about accuracy, complex sentence structures, and really strict grammar control. But fluency is what you actually need out in the real world. It's about the speed, the rhythm, the actual flow of communication. When we aim for conversational fluency first, we massively lower our anxiety. We stop worrying about being perfect, and honestly, we just finally start speaking. So the crucial point here is that real-world fluency does not look like a perfectly written textbook. Instead, it focuses on maintaining the rhythm of a conversation. It relies heavily on your ability to just smoothly recover when you inevitably forget a word, because you will. It absolutely prioritizes being understood by the person you're talking to way above having flawless grammar. It allows you to negotiate meaning right there in real time. Making minor grammatical errors isn't just acceptable, it's a completely normal, expected part of the whole shebang, just as long as your core message actually gets across. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, but a baby's brain is naturally wired for this. Well, I've got great news. Yours is too. It's all thanks to a cognitive science concept called statistical learning. Now, please don't let that dense academic term intimidate you. It simply means that your brain is a world-class subconscious pattern recognition machine. Seriously, without you even trying, it extracts statistical regularities from your environment to figure out really complex puzzles, like exactly where one word ends and the next begins in a fast, continuous stream of foreign speech. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that pattern recognition works in the real world. Researchers call this the pretty baby effect. Think about it for a second. When we speak naturally, there are no physical pauses between words, like there are spaces on a printed page, right? It's literally just one long audio stream. So how does a listener actually know it's two separate words? Well, your brain constantly tracks how often syllables appear next to each other. In English, the sounds pre and tai happen together all the time. But the sounds tai and ba, which bridge the two words, rarely occur together. Because of those background statistics, your brain intuitively chops the audio right there, finding the word border. You are quite literally hardwired for language acquisition. Now, here is where your unique advantage as an older learner really comes in. And yes, I said advantage. Adult brains absolutely excel at logic, context, and deduction. Unlike infants who are starting entirely from scratch with zero world knowledge, you already know how the world works. If someone points to a cup and says a foreign word, you use logical deduction to know they mean the cup. They don't mean the concept of holding or the color of the ceramic. You can use inference to guess meanings from context, and that drastically accelerates your statistical learning. So you aren't at a disadvantage compared to a child at all. You just learn differently, and honestly, far more strategically. I want this to serve as a bit of an emotional reset for us. Kato Lomb reminds us with this really incredible wisdom that mistakes are actually a sign of progress. You cannot simply study your way to confidence in a language by hiding away in a textbook. Confidence only matures through actual, messy use. Passion and motivation, they will always beat raw talent. And perfectionism is the absolute enemy of progress. Truly, if you wait until you feel 100% ready to speak, you're going to be waiting forever. Let's see how this all builds into a highly actionable 6-week framework for language mastery. We're calling this the Oppenheimer method. Just as the famous physicist looked at monumental, overwhelmingly complex problems and broke them all the way down to their atomic level, we are going to do the exact same thing with language. It consists of 3 specific steps: breaking massive language blocks into atomic parts, training yourself to think directly in pictures, and finally, simulating high-stakes, real-life scenarios. Step 1 is that atomic approach, and the number 10 is your new secret weapon. Say you set a goal to memorize 500 core vocabulary words. Okay, that sounds like a massive, stressful chore that you'll probably just procrastinate on, right? But if you break it down to its atomic elements, it's just 10 words a day. Learning 10 words takes minutes. By focusing purely on that tiny daily atom, an intimidating 500-word vocabulary block suddenly turns into an incredibly easy, achievable 50-day task. Step 2 is all about how you actually learn those 10 words. To build true rapid fluency, you must map foreign words to images, not to your native translations. So for example, if you're learning the Spanish word for apple, manzana, you really shouldn't translate it to the English word apple in your head first. Instead, you need to connect manzana directly to the visual image of a red, shiny apple. This technique completely bypasses that mental translation delay. When you finally stop translating in your head, you unlock the natural speed and rhythm of true fluency. Step 3 puts it all together into a practical 30-minute daily toolkit. First, you'll want to prioritize audio-first learning using graduated interval recall. It's kind of like the famous Pimsleur method, perfectly spacing out your memory repetitions. Next, demand active verbal participation from yourself. Don't just quietly tap answers on a screen, actually speak out loud. Combine this by reading short, interesting texts out loud with a dictionary handy to build up that context. Then leverage tools with advanced speech recognition, or ASR. These listen to you and give instant feedback on your pronunciation, totally without the pressure of a real conversation. And finally, just switch the language on your phone and laptop. It creates this incredibly powerful layer of daily ambient immersion. Which brings us to the final piece of the Oppenheimer method and really the conclusion for this explainer. I want to leave you with a memorable challenge. What practical, real-life scenario are you going to simulate first? Are you going to role-play ordering a meal at a bustling restaurant, or perhaps simulate giving directions to a taxi driver? Pick a scenario, imagine the dialogue, and just start speaking it out loud today. Make mistakes, stumble over your words, and let your confidence mature through action. You have the system, you have the brain for it, and you are definitely, absolutely not too old. Thanks for joining me, and I cannot wait to see which language you conquer next.